Welcome to the place where the conversations are tough and the guests are tougher. My name is Jackson Stepanian, and welcome to the Difficult Conversation Podcast. Today I'm here with Gunter, who's an environmental and social justice activist, a high school student, and a family friend of mine. Luke, say what's up.
How are we doing? How's everybody doing today?
I really butchered that intro, but it's all right. It's whatever.
All good.
So, Luke, you're a high school student. How's high school treating you? How was online school for you?
It was going pretty well. I mean, I liked it because they kind of like cut the bullshit a little bit. It was just kind of like straight up. You could just do all the work and then you were finished, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So today we have such a juicy episode. A lot of important stuff going on in the world as of right now. It's almost August already, which is crazy. I'm happy 2020. My mind is kind of going by a little fast because this year just sucks. But I want to dive straight into it. First thing on my list is what's going on in Portland. And people that don't know what's going on in Portland, it started off as anti-police Black Lives Matter protests, peaceful marching through the streets, and then President Trump enforced federal officers into the city of Portland. And that just raised tensions, and now it's just a bloodbath. You got riots, you have fires, fireworks, rocks being thrown, government buildings being just trashed. It's not a good sight. Luke, I want to hear your thoughts on what's going on in Portland and how maybe we can help it.
Yeah, so I think that it's a little bit ironic that we were answering police brutality protests with more police brutality. That was kind of sick. But I mean, it's really scary because I mean these police that are coming in, they're unidentifiable, which is an illegal. It's not. I mean, I'm not too versed in the legality of it. Like, I'm not a lawyer, but
it is legal. It's very looked down upon, but it's not illegal. They do it all the time.
Okay, it's not illegal. Okay, yeah. So usually an officer has to be identifiable, which none of these federal police officers are, which is really scary, meaning that there's no repercussions for what they do. These are just police that can just do whatever the fuck they want. And, I mean, you can't report them. Usually reports don't have to do anything. Like, the guy who killed George Floyd, like, he had a bunch of reports, and they didn't really do shit about it. But reporting somebody is still something that is like good to do, and is I mean that's part of like kind of showing people that you don't really like them, which is part of a democracy. And you can't really do that when the police are unmarked and then the vans are unmarked, and then they just kind of like drive these people around for like they just like pick them up off the streets. I've even seen in New York they've just like picked up random people who weren't even protesting.
Yes, I did see
some
that.
It's some crazy shit, and I like, it's kind of fascist, you know. Like it is. There's a few steps to taking political prisoners into your van and then shooting them in the back of your head. I don't know what step in the list this is, but you know, we're like 2 or 3 steps away from there. You know what I'm saying? It's fucking freaky.
We are heading towards a fascism state, which is kind of terrifying. I remember like a few years ago on the news, we would look at like Ukraine and what's going on in Ukraine. It's what's happening now. And then you look at Portland and you're like, is that America? Is that the United States? It's kind of scary. There's not much to talk about on this topic. It's just something needs to be done. And I don't think sending federal officers just to stand there. I know in Seattle, in like the Chaz area, whatever they called that, the mayor asked for federal help, but for them not to bring in weapons. What does that do? It's not fascism if the city's government asks for help. Portland didn't ask for help. He just sent it in, and that is fascist.
Yeah.
But I know what me and Luke really want to talk about today is QAnon. I have been dying to talk about this for the longest time. Research on days. I watched like 2 documentaries on the news about it. Luke, what's the research you've done? What's your conclusion? What do you think about it?
So I know that QAnon came from Pizzagate, which was like a fucking crazy conspiracy theory.
Can I talk about Pizzagate real quick?
You can talk about Pizzagate, yeah.
So what was it? It was like, I think it was the 2016 election, something like that. And
it came from Hillary's emails. They were like looking at Hillary's emails, and they were like,
and Hillary's emails. Hillary asked another congressman, hey, do you want to go out to get a slice of pizza? And like a PC spot, like right across the Capitol. And it says, sure, I'll meet you at, and it's the restaurant. So this one dude like went to the pizza place and recorded. In the beginning of the video, it was actually very nice. He was like, I'm going to do something that's going to help us, help our family, and help our country. And when you hear that part, you're like, oh, this dude's going to do something great. He's going to help us out. And then he was like, I'm going to stop Hillary Clinton in this child sex ring in the basement of this pizza restaurant. So he goes into this pizza restaurant with like an AR and like a shotgun and a handgun, kicks the door down, tells everyone to he goes, get on the ground, I'm going to save all your lives. And he goes to find the basement where Hillary Clinton is supposedly keeping all these children to rape, and there's no basement. So the SWAT team just pulls up and takes him away. But that's what QAnon is. It's just theories. It's theories with almost no evidence. It's just like little tiny hints. Oh, this may be happening. So on.
It's a conspiracy theory, yeah.
It's crazy.
And the thing about a conspiracy theory is, like, once you kind of go down the rabbit hole, you don't really, like, take contradictory evidence. Like, even when they realize that, like, there was no basement, they were like, okay, well, some other shit's going on. Hillary has kids.
Another pizza place.
Yeah. And then QAnon came from somebody on 4chan called Q. And, like, I guess they just post things. It's 4chan, so you don't even know if it's, like, the same person. I'm pretty sure it was probably, like, a troll, like, the first time that they did it. But they were doing this thing, like, Donald Trump is going to come. He's going to save America from the deep state.
He's going to drain the swamp. Drain the swamp.
He's gonna drain the swamp. I mean, it's the craziest shit. I mean, conservatives, they have this tendency to always victimize themselves. They're constant, like, the conservatives, they always talk about, oh, the left's constantly victimizing, they're always looking for things to hurt themselves. Like, the conservatives have, like, they control the federal, they control, like, they control the presidential branch, and then they also control, like, Congress and the Senate. Like, what else do they fucking need? And they're, like, victimizing themselves, like, oh, the Democrats are coming, they're trying to destroy the government. The Democrats and the Jews, they have control over the world. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What don't you have power over?
So people understand more conspiracies of QAnon, I have a list of 3 that I thought were terrifying. That these people, and I don't want to say all Trump supporters, but it is. If you believe in QAnon, you believe in QAnon, you are a Trump supporter, because Trump feeds off QAnon. He loves QAnon. He loves it. So here's a little list. They believe, for example, 9/11 was an inside job. JFK was killed by the CIA. JFK was killed by the CIA, and children are being used for drinking blood. That's just sick. A few. That's just a few. And some, hit my hand on my desk. Some organizations call this the cult of Donald Trump. They believe Donald Trump is going to save our country from the deep state, from the swamp, from the Dems. We hate the Dems. You even have to take an initiation on Twitter or like on social media where it's like one for I, one for all. And like Michael Flynn, the former like U.S. Attorney General, is doing it. Like, what's going on? And
it's crazy.
And Republican politicians are starting to endorse these QAnon like congressmen. Like, what's going on? I personally think it's a threat to our democracy because you have these people trying to come into a place of power whose whole idea is based off of other ideas with no evidence behind it whatsoever. I can go out and say, you raped me with no evidence, and I just keep telling people, no, you raped me. You raped me. Oh, if you raped him, then I bet those other people raped that guy. It's just the whole thing. Like, what's going on? It's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. It's speaking to like the anti-vax like right that's kind of rising right now. Like you saw it kind of first with like Alex Jones. You're seeing it now. Like Fox News is getting like a lot crazier. Like Tucker Carlson, they're like all doing these weird conspiracy theories, like because their supporter bases are getting like a lot more into QAnon, and once they believe in QAnon, they can believe anything. Like Tucker Carlson, he was saying like, oh, Donald Trump, his approval ratings are going down with the coronavirus, or as coronavirus goes. So that's why the Democrats are keeping the coronavirus, so Trump's approval rating is going down. Like there's no like. There's no fucking connection in any like Tucker Carlson. He's like voicing. He a lot of people watch him, so he's giving opinions to a lot of like Americans. Mm-hmm. And when he says something like that the reason that Trump's approval ratings are going down because coronavirus is getting worse because he's not dealing with it very well, And his thought is, oh, the Democrats are making the coronavirus happen more, so Trump's going to fail. Instead of Trump is dealing with the coronavirus poorly, and then people see that and don't like that. Like, what the fuck?
There is this one picture I saw on Twitter, of course. I love Twitter. There's this one picture I saw, and it was like a screenshot of a headline. It was like, over 150,000 Americans died due to virus. And then it's like a quote of Trump saying, I guess they don't like me that much, because he was talking about how more people like Fauci than Donald Trump when it comes to coronavirus, because one's a doctor and one's an idiot.
Yeah. Orange man. One's orange man.
He is nuts.
He's nuts.
I try and be bipartisan with him. I try and like look for like the good things he's done.
He's done like 2 good things and like
He's
a billion
nuts.
bad things. Yeah.
He is nuts. Crazy. Oh, I was watching the Capitol Hill, because Fauci's on Capitol Hill right now. By the way, breaking news, we're probably going to have a vaccine for coronavirus by maybe November or December this year. Shout out Fauci. But then again, when you say that, you have to give props to Trump, even though we don't want to. He applied all this funding for a vaccine, but you can't make that your own point. That's his job. We're lucky he did his job. The Democrats, they want to shine the light off all Donald Trump's accomplishments. You mean doing his job? I sure hope he's doing his job. Like, what's your point? Like, what are you saying?
I mean, it's doing his job, and it's doing his job, like, after he fucked up a lot already. Like, he's just doing this now to save face. Like, he disbanded our pandemic team in the beginning of his election. That's one of the reasons why we dealt with this so poorly. Yeah. It was the first thing he did when he got into office. And then when he found out about this, he was like, oh, it's not going to happen, guys. Don't worry. Whatever. It's just a little virus. You're going to be fine. And then it happened. And he was like, okay, guys, just drink bleach. If you drink bleach, the coronavirus is going to go away. Don't worry. Now he's doing that again. Now he's like, okay, I'm going to pay this guy to do the vaccine. Like, you don't give him credit now. You don't give him credit because he fucked up 7 times, and then he's not fucking up now.
It was like last week. There was like a 4-day period where he was saying all the right things. He was doing the right things. He was wearing his mask. He was promoting masks. We were like, okay, nice. He's changing. But that was when he was reading off his pieces of paper. He was reading off his pieces of paper. He wasn't taking any questions. It was his paper, then he left. But now, he got bored. He wants to start talking now. He's crazy.
He's a crazy dude.
So we're gonna go from Trump to the election. That's one of our talking points. Who do you think is winning the election and why?
So like I talked about earlier, Trump's ratings are going down greatly. I don't think Trump's ratings throughout his entire presidency have passed 50%. I think his highest has been 49% approval rating.
He is one of the most hated.
He's one of the most hated presidents. And I don't think he's going to win. I mean, the reason why he won last time, I think we talked about this a little bit before, was because of his use of big data campaigning. Also, he used populism, it's a good strategy. I think we need some sort of populism. I don't really like right-wing populism because, as you can see, it's kind of leading to a little bit of fascism. But I think his populism appealed to people. Now people are seeing that it's not working. Like, he's kind of just a dumbass who's not going to do anything. And he's not dealing with the coronavirus very well. So I think that his approval ratings are going down greatly.
I like to use this logic. So what I did last night is I was crunching numbers for literally hours. So, but the logic I'm using behind this is I think there's maybe I can count on my 2 hands how many Democrats are going to vote for. I don't think there's one Democrat in this country that'll vote for Trump. I think they'd rather not vote than vote for Trump. So let's use the logic that a Democrat's going to vote for Biden and that's it. So if we look at the primaries in every battleground state, it's a tight race with just Biden and Trump. But let's say Bernie, even half of Bernie's votes goes towards Biden, which they're most likely going to. Biden wins almost every single battleground state.
Wow.
Including Texas. He might win crazy. Texas.
That's crazy. I mean, I've heard Texas is shifting blue now.
Texas is going blue. I don't think it's going to go blue.
This quickly, though?
I don't think it's going to go blue this election. I think it's
going to go blue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But what everyone's saying, I agree with it. I agree with it too. I think whoever wins Florida is going to win the election. And right now, I have the number right here. So, in the primary, this Florida primary, 1.1 million people voted red, and 1.4 million people voted blue. It's kind of too close to call, so I'm not going to call anything. But as of right now, Biden wins Florida.
Yeah.
We look at Colorado, who's a swing state. 420,000 people voted blue. 700,000 people voted red, so that goes to Trump. Let's look at Michigan, which is a major battleground state, and I'm pretty sure Trump won it last time. 1.4 million people vote blue, 600,000 vote red.
Wow.
People don't want to admit it. I see this argument made by Donald Trump Jr., I think my least favorite person on this planet, that there's no enthusiasm towards Biden. No one wants Biden to win. You're right. Not a lot of people want Biden to win. I'm not the biggest Biden fan. I'm a Yang Gang member. I love me some Yang in the morning. But I just need Trump out. We need him out.
Nobody's enthusiastic about Biden, but everybody's enthusiastic against Trump.
About Trump getting out.
Yeah.
And that says a lot. And then we look at Trump's approval rating. It's in the dumps. We look at the polls. He's losing every single national poll. A lot, even a Fox News poll by double digits. But then again,
they had the interview, and the guy was like telling Trump that he was down like 7 points.
He was like, "No, that's not true. Fake news." I'm pretty sure he said that's fake poll. He said fake polls.
What a legend.
But if we look back in 2016, he was also not doing well in the polls.
Yeah,
Hillary was beating him in the polls.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. That's what I was thinking about too. But I don't think in this election, I'm pretty sure that the neck and they were kind of like pretty close.
It was
what happened with
poll
Hillary.
Was close.
Yeah, they were all the polls were really really close with each other, right? Mm-hmm. And she didn't go. Where did she not go? Wisconsin, I think. Because she was kind of just like betting on Wisconsin, and then Wisconsin.
She really wanted Wisconsin. I don't think she got Wisconsin.
Yeah, and then there was one, I think it was Wisconsin that she was going to go to, but she just canceled her trip there, and then she dipped, and then like she lost Wisconsin. Like I think she kind of got cocky, and like all the shit
I'm pretty
about
sure
her
she
emails.
canceled because I'm pretty sure she got pneumonia.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. I mean, I do remember she was sick. I don't know if that's the reason why she canceled, but I do remember she wasn't sick.
Okay. I thought she was sick like earlier in the. I don't know, but I remember that she kind of got cocky near the end of the election because she was just how can Trump win?
She did because no one thought he was gonna win. Literally nobody. I said in my last podcast, I read the book Fire and the Fury, written by someone inside his campaign at the time. There wasn't a big party set up because no one thought he was gonna win. Trump didn't even think he was gonna win. Hillary had this whole glass-breaking party ready. She thought she was gonna win. She thought she was going to blow him out. I mean, she beat him by almost 3 million votes. She won the popular vote by a lot. But if you look at the whole of the country of who voted, it was like, I think it was like 50 million people didn't vote.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk. Because none of them like either candidates, and I hope that doesn't happen this election. We need people to vote. Mail-in voting needs to happen. I don't know why he's trying to push that it shouldn't happen when he votes mail himself. I don't get it. Will it take more time? Yes, 100%. They're still counting. It doesn't work. It's not as effective. In New York, they're still counting votes from the primary 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
So with the pandemic, I don't know how they're going to do the election. I think it's going to be formatted differently. I think they're going to have mail-in voting, and I think we're gonna get the results like a few weeks later. So it's gonna be a little tense. But they can't take away mail-in voting. I just think that's ridiculous. It's
kind of crazy, yeah.
Kind of unconstitutional. It's taking away your way to vote to an extent. Because what about like this old lady in a nursing home? She has every single right to vote, but she'll be risking her life to go to a voting poll in the middle of a pandemic. What are you, smoking crack? What are you, crazy? That's ridiculous.
I mean, what I'm scared about is I've heard Trump doing talk about like just canceling the election. Just saying,
do that.
I mean, no. Well, I mean, I've heard that wasn't. God, somebody was texting me about this. They were saying something about. What did they say?
What is that?
They were saying So Trump was saying something about, oh, why don't we just move the elections like a few months?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Yeah, and then Bill Barr, he was saying something like, oh, well, I don't really know if that's like unconstitutional. And then somebody on like Trump's like committee, that like one of his bureau, like one of his executive bureaus,
one of his boys
was saying like, oh, well, I think Trump gets to decide if that's what's constitutional.
That's not how that works.
That's not how that works.
He doesn't have the power to do that.
Even if he's flirting with the idea of canceling the election, I am scared out of my mind. Like, what the hell? That is fascist. That is fascist.
The funny thing is, because he thinks he can do it too. And one of what I else think is kind of scary. That I was talking about one of my family members about this, and this is kind of facts. We're kind of dealing with a child. Let's say he loses this November, which he probably will. Knock on wood, but watch me eat my words in a few months. Let's say he loses in November. Imagine that last 4-month period of he can do whatever the hell he wants with absolutely no consequences because he knows he's leaving. That's scary. And the sad thing is, that's probably what's going to happen. Deploy federal troops in our cities without asking.
I mean, I don't know what he's going to do. Like, I don't know what is going to, like, what's stopping him right now, though. Because, like, he was impeached, but he didn't get, like, convicted. Like,
I do remember, like, this February, before coronavirus. No, was it this January? I think it was Trump lost his impeachment this January. I think. He won the impeachment. The Republicans owned the House. The economy was as good as it's ever been. This man was riding into 2020. His next election. This man was gonna blow any Democrat out of the water. And then an actual problem came, and he just butchered it.
Crumbled.
He just butchered it. And one I think it's funny. I'm gonna keep talking about Trump because I got a lot to talk about. I love how every single time Trump says something, like let's say his press secretary, I hate her. Let's say he'll say okay, let's go back to the George Floyd incident and when the Black Lives Matter was the talk of the town for a month. And Donald Trump, he didn't quote apparently because when you have to quote something, it has to have quotations, but he said the same thing a racist police officer said in the 60s. It was when the looting starts, the shooting starts. He said that. The exact same phrase in a tweet. And then the press secretary was like, well, that's not what he meant. That's not what he meant. Every single time something comes out of his mouth, it isn't literal. And the Dems are just taking it too literal. We're taking it too seriously. He's the leader of the free world. I'm taking everything he says seriously. They were so it's the same thing on the right. They were so pressed about Obama and his birth certificate. The only reason they were questioning about his birth certificate is because he didn't look like the other 43 presidents. What do you mean?
Because it got a little bit more melanin. Yeah, that's all.
This country's a hypocrisy. I hate it.
I mean, they'll make every single excuse. Trump literally tweeted a video that said white power in it. And then they were like,
he didn't hear it.
Left it up for 2 hours. He didn't hear it, guys. He didn't hear it. And we couldn't reach him, okay? He was golfing. It's not like we have 50 million Secret Service people around him who we can easily reach and tell him to take it down. No, we couldn't reach him, guys. We just had to leave it up for 3 hours. Come on.
I actually don't mind when a president golfs. I remember the right.
No, I don't mind that. I'm saying he can golf, whatever. I'm saying their excuse so it's not just that he tweeted it. It's that he tweeted it and kept it up for 2 hours. And their excuse was, we couldn't reach him. He was golfing. They don't have, billions of guards around him. They can easily tell. Tell him to, turn it off. What the fuck?
I remember every Republican would go after Obama's neck when he would go golfing. You have a high-pressure job. You got to relax for a little bit. Even Donald. Hate the guy. Relax. I'm sure he just sits in the Oval Office with his legs up. Tells Pence to go do his bidding. Pence. Oh, that's a different.
And then tweets for 3 hours.
And tweets for 3 hours. But then, do you know what Barstool Sports is?
No, I don't know.
So it's a sports company website, Instagram, all that stuff. It's a web page. And they have the president of Barstool. His name's I don't even know what his name is. He's a bum. I hate him. So he had an interview, all the fratty kids are full send Barstool, yeah. It goes towards that kind of audience.
Yeah.
So he had an interview with Donald Trump, and I think this dude leans right, but he gave Trump some pretty serious questions. So imagine some like fratty ass dude asking Trump like some really good questions. And it was a son of Donald with Trump we've never seen before. It was kind of like he was normal, if that makes any sense. Like he asked one question, it was like, "Do you ever regret? Do you ever regret? I can't speak. Do you ever regret tweeting anything? Like, do you ever send a tweet and you're like, oh God?" And Donald like sat back, like really relaxed. He was like, "You know what? All the time." He was like, "Really?" He was like, "Every single time." Like every single time? What do you mean? Some other questions, and he was like, "Why do you care so much about the kneeling?" He was like, and then the dude was like, "I'd rather have them kneel than burn down our cities." He's like, "Just let them have the knee." And he was like, "If I see anyone take a knee during our anthem, I immediately turn off the game. It's like, you're asking for peaceful protests. We give you.
He's such a snowflake. The guy like kneels for the flag, and then he's like, "Oh, I can't watch this game anymore." Dude, chill out. People are getting killed in the streets, and you're like, "Oh, sorry, I can't watch sports now."
I'll never forget when I remember I was watching it live. It was a protest just right out of the Capitol, right outside the White House. And they were 100% peaceful, just a bunch of people marching, no justice, no peace. And they gassed him. And I was like, why are they gassing him? And they started shooting at him. I'm like, why are you shooting at him? And you see Trump's fat orange ass start marching down the garden, marching across the street, and takes a picture of a Bible upside down. That shit was upside down.
Like this.
And everyone was trying to suck him off. They were,
Oh my God.
They were like, "Oh, it signified."
Have you seen the the tweets? They were like, "This is what a real man looks like," and he's like he's like walking down the road, like he's like this. He's like the weirdest guy. He's like,
sorry, it needs to be upside down and backward. And he was like,
can't even be Trump.
He kept that pointing at it. The Bible, this is the Bible.
I read this Bible.
Oh my God,
this is the best Bible.
I absolutely hate him. I hate him. We could talk about Trump for hours. We gotta move on.
I mean, I don't like Trump, but my problem with people who criticize Trump is that they just criticize Trump. So, like, a lot of people in the Democratic Party, like, they don't like Trump. I'm like, okay, cool, you're cool.
They all hate him. There's not
cool,
one
whatever.
Democrat that likes Trump.
Yeah. Well, there's a few, like, kind of grifty talk show hosts who say that they're Democrats. I'm like, but I kind of like Trump because he hates black people, and I hate black people too. They don't say it like that, but that's kind of what they're hinting at. But like, he's not, when right-wing populism comes, which is what he's a right-wing populist. He's a fascist, whatever. We can agree on that. Yeah. It doesn't come because just out of nowhere. Like, people aren't just like pissed off for no reason. Like, there's always a reason why people, like, populism comes when people are like pissed off at the system that's in place. Mm-hmm. So the reason why Trump is appearing is because people are pissed off. Because Obama was a good president, but he wasn't the best, right? He was a great guy. He was a great guy, but he wasn't like
in 8 years he didn't do that much.
He didn't do that much. Like, he did like Obamacare, which was like okay, like that was a cool thing. Like, he didn't.
Great idea.
Like, gay marriage happened, but like, did he really like help with that? Like, he wasn't like a full supporter of it, you know? Like, things just kind of like happened, right? And people are like losing their wages, right? We've seen this like through like since I think it's the 1980s. Productivity has like doubled, but wages have stayed stagnant since the 1980s, and I think they've dropped a little bit actually. It's absolutely like.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting bad. Our healthcare is terrible. I think most Americans can't afford like a $200.
No, we can't.
Yeah, it's absolutely like crazy, and that's why people are voting for Trump. Like, Trump was saying.
But then again, to that argument, why vote for Trump? He's not helping you.
No, I know. Yeah. He's virtue signaling. That's what he's doing. He's saying, I'm gonna help you. He's bringing the ideas into the zeitgeist, and he's not saying the Jews, but he said international corporations, which is something Hitler also said. He's saying these international banks and corporations are destroying America. They're stealing jobs from us. These immigrants are coming into our country. They're taking our jobs. They're raping our women. Like,
Can I talk about the China stealing our jobs really quick?
yeah.
I hope people understand that China isn't stealing our jobs. The corporations in America want to save money, so they send their products to China to make just as good as material for dirt cheap. I'm talking like dirt cheap, pay the workers dirt cheap. When in America they have to pay them, let's say, $11 an hour. In China, you pay them like three American cents an hour.
Yeah.
So China isn't stealing our jobs. We were giving our jobs to China. I don't know. You can Google it, and it's the first thing that pops up. It's common sense, but no. China! And he's so bipolar with China. One day he loves them. The second day we have to bomb them. We have to bomb them. They gave us coronavirus.
Yeah. He hangs out with like Xi Jinping or whatever. He'll also say,
I hate the Chinese virus. I hate the term Chinese virus. The first outbreak was in China, yes, but we don't know where it originated. We thought the Spanish flu came from Spain. It started in Arkansas or something like that. But I don't think it's racist. I just think it's rude. But when he said Wuhan virus, that's not Wuhan virus, Kung flu virus. That's just racist. It's just racist. And every single president in American history, except for Obama, was racist. But none of them were openly
Obama
racist.
was a little bit racist. I mean, he kept what was he doing? He kept like sending the cops to the Native Americans and kind of like brutally beating them. Like he was kind of a dick to them. During their protests. Yeah. I mean, I do environmental activism, so I know people who have been like working with like Native groups. I think Red Nation is one of them. Red Nation is one of them.
That's fair. Like I don't think it was fair for me to say Obama wasn't racist, but he's a lot less racist than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like for example, JFK got arrested, so he was a racist. Abraham Lincoln, free the slaves. He was a racist.
He was a racist, yeah.
Nixon, racist. Bush,
I don't think
racist.
We need to talk about Nixon being racist. It's pretty obvious.
Actually, no. The only president that I don't think was that racist was Clinton. Clinton wasn't racist. Black people said about Clinton, he was Clinton was apparently the closest thing we would ever get to an African American president. That's what my mom said. Everyone back in that time was like, Clinton was the closest thing we'll get to a black president. He's so chill and hip.
Yeah.
Before all we know, maybe he's a racist. But from like the outside in, you don't look that racist.
I mean, I think that you can't hold that level of power without being like a little bit hateful of the people who are beneath you, you know? Like it's kind of
I'm sure of it.
It's definitely inherent to it. I think you're going to be like a little bit hateful of minorities. Which is I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm just saying that's going to happen in that position. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to move on from Trump because we could talk about for hours.
Yeah.
Really good question. If a vaccine came out tomorrow, would you take it? And if not, if so, why? And if not, why?
Am I the only person who can take it, or is it available for everybody else?
It's available for everybody. It's out.
Okay.
The vaccine is out.
Oh, then it's a vaccine. Yeah. As long as the FDA says it's a good virus. Like if there's scientific studies that like. If people are like fact checking it, they're like, okay, this is a good vaccine. Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I'm on the side of science.
Thank you.
I believe
this was a very simple question, but it's kind of a compacted question in a way because I was watching the news, and now the threat is becoming because but like people in the area and journalists know and scientists know that a vaccine is coming a lot sooner than we think it is. That's the one thing I'll give Trump, because Trump said it from the beginning. A vaccine. I just pray God he doesn't come before the election for the sole reason because he will win. If that happens, he will win. That's kind of really messed up for me to say. I just want a vaccine as soon as possible. But he was saying like a lot sooner. We didn't really believe him, and now like 5 minutes ago, Fauci is saying I'm cautiously optimistic that by like November and December, we're gonna have one in November, one in December, that our world's going to start going back to normal a little bit, which is great. But now the threat people are saying is not when a vaccine will come out, but not enough people will get it. Back to the QAnon thing, they think there was like this one lady who thinks like, you saw the lady? The lady was like, vaccines are taking away our right to be religious. What does that mean? This is a lady Donald Trump retweeted and continued to praise the next day. This lady is known for saying that that in vaccines there was whale sperm and alien blood. Like, what? She says she's a known doctor in Nigeria, but she doesn't even have a PhD. She's not a doctor.
Oh, is she the one who talked about like demon semen? That was like trending on Twitter the other day. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
that's the stuff our president's retweeting. He thinks that was great stuff. And the hydrochloric, I don't even know how to say that.
Oh yeah.
He keeps on pushing it.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Wanna know why he's pushing it? I'm gonna tell you why he's pushing it right now. If anyone's still listening, this is why he's pushing it. He owns stock in that drug. He owns stock in it. Why do you think he's pushing it? Homie's making bank.
That's sick.
He's making bank.
Oh my god.
He's evil. He doesn't care. It's proven making things worse. It doesn't make anything better. If you have an underlying condition, especially a heart condition, and you take that drug, bro, with coronavirus, you're dead.
I mean, like, it's what I was saying earlier. It's the conservative party is getting a lot more anti-facts. Like, they're just against science because science doesn't help them be they don't care about conservative values, or they don't care about making the world a better place. They just care about they care about conservative values, but that's all that they care about. Like, that's literally all that they want. They'll think anything so they can get that. That's why there's so many rises of conspiracy theories. That's why they'll like just push these random like one-off stories. And like whenever I talk to a conservative, they'll always like try to disprove my theories with like one studies instead of like huge data analyses. They're not like, they're just finding like little bits of things to kind of like poke holes. Like, oh, on this thing of Clorox, it says that it fights coronavirus. Take that, liberal.
Well, I mean it does. It's like the only thing that we've proven that, like, if you wipe a Clorox wipe on a desk, it kills coronavirus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's true, but that doesn't mean you should, like, fucking start eating it like chips. Like, that's not how that works.
You shouldn't be drinking it. You shouldn't be, like, putting it in your body. It's going to kill you.
There was, what else happened? Oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. We were talking about Clorox and things that be, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say.
I mean, we've even heard that, like, the new anti-vax, like, this anti-vax thing isn't even new, too. Like, we've heard about this before the virus.
The flu shot.
About this last year.
Yeah,
the flu shot. There was an area, God, where was it? It was somewhere in the Midwest, and they, like, had a measles outbreak because people didn't believe science.
People didn't believe.
And they didn't believe, yeah, they were like, I'm not going to get my kid to have these vaccines, because, like, they're going to give them, like, autism or something.
That's not how that works, everybody. It's not how that works.
It's been disproven. Like, I think, what is it? How many there were 8, I'm pretty sure there were 8 scientists who were working on that original study. And 6 of them? I know it's a majority. I'll find the right. You can look it up. I will stand by. If I'm wrong, I will.
I'll like put like a little. You don't look it up now. I'll look it up while I'm editing the clip, and I'll like put the information on the screen.
Okay.
But
yeah. So I know that.
I'm sure you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. I say to my friends all the time, our country is so stupid. And I'm sure the more people you have, the more stupid people there'll be. But I am for sure there are more stupid people than smart people in our country right now. We have something called COVID parties. Want to know what a COVID party is? A group of college students come to a party and they see if they get it. People have died.
Crazy.
College students have died. England, Europe, they're back to normal. They're going out to dinner. They're going out to party. They're out with their friends on the street. You gotta wear a mask sometimes, but relatively, you're back to normal. Because they followed the directions. They followed instructions. They stayed home. They wear a mask. But no, apparently masks. It restricts my breathing. I can't wear it. What? You see that one Arizona congressman who, right after George Floyd died, took off the mask and said, I can't breathe. I can breathe with my mask on. You can breathe too. What's wrong? What mask are you wearing that restricts your breathing? You should have the mask.
I mean, surgeons wear those masks like for 8 hours a day, and they're
the N95
fine.
ones. The N95 ones, they like clamp on your nose and on your face, so nothing.
You can still breathe.
Out.
You can still breathe.
You're breathing in. But if everyone in the country had an N95 mask, we would destroy this in weeks. An N95. Almost nothing comes out. I'm talking like.
I mean, I think it's the funniest thing that we have like infinite supplies of tear gas and like military weapons.
Because
And
there's so much funding.
rubber
There's so much
bullets.
funding in this.
So much funding for the
that type
police,
of
and
stuff.
then once we need masks, like it's like, oh well, we kind of like need to take over a few factories, and then we'll be good. Like we
still have a shortage on protective equipment for our healthcare workers
Yeah.
now.
They have to wear like garbage bags and stuff. Like
And Dr. Fauci even said we're still in the first wave. The fall, we're gonna have a second wave. We're gonna go into another lockdown in our state. And we can say our state. I don't really care. We live in Rhode Island, and recently we've had like days where we've been having like 60 cases the past like 2 months, which is fantastic. Shout out Gina. But recently I'm checking, it's like going up to like 110, 120 cases a day. We had a positivity rate of 0.2. Now we have a positivity rate of 2%. But to be fair, compared to Florida, that has a positivity rate of like 35, and Texas that had a positivity rate of 37. You want a positivity rate below 5. That's like really good. So we're still doing good. But this virus hasn't gone away. It's not going to go away ever. We're going to live with this for the rest of our lives. But I think it's going to be like a, oh yeah, boss, I can't come into work today. Got COVID. Everybody, all right, yep, stay home. please stay home. Don't come into work.
yeah,
I don't know. All I know is that our world changed forever. And
Yeah,
I
I mean-
didn't think it had to be this bad.
I mean
Yeah.
the whole dumbness of our population, like that's because one, our media is really bad. Like we have
Horrible.
Fox News, which is an absolutely terrible media source, and two, we have such bad education, right? It's absolutely terrible. We've had, I mean,
Wait, do you mean like universities, or you mean like public
well,
education?
in just public education in general, yeah. Like it's, I mean, we still have some kids who are like illiterate by the time they get out of high school. Like that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Especially in poor like black neighborhoods. You'll see that there. You'll see in some more like conservative Christian areas, they'll just completely deny science in their schools. Like, what the hell?
To the media argument, we can't just say Fox News is trash. MSNBC is trash.
Oh, all of them are
is-
trash. I completely
CNN
agree
is
with you. Yeah.
trash. ABC is all right. I'll give ABC. They have. I'll give ABC like a B. ABC's all right.
I mean, what? Okay, so the conservative media is just conspiracy theories, but what
It's
the
crazy.
left-wing media does, well, I'm just saying relatively left. We have like, they're basically just like they're basically just like conservatives with like a kind of more
Democratic
diverse.
mask on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They just like hear one thing and they'll discuss that for like 20, like with the George Floyd protests, they were just like, oh, was this peaceful protest? Or they won't even call it, they'll just say, was this riot a riot or was it not a riot? And they'll discuss that. And at no point will they ever discuss the policies that they're talking about. Will they discuss the politics of what they're doing? And in no instances have they been discussing that there have been peaceful protests that have been happening. And there have been people who are actually trying to fight for this cause. And even when there were these riots happening, they weren't even talking about the justification for it. Because these people in these areas that have been rioting, they've been hurt economically from policies from Democrats and Republicans.
And Republicans.
Who have been, yeah. Both of them are
Democrats
hurting
and Republicans,
them
let me
deeply.
just say, are just, they're when it comes to the racism, just as shit. Only Democrats put
definitely,
a
yeah.
mask on.
Yeah, I mean, what was the Noam Chomsky quote? He was like, "We don't have two parties. We only have one party." That's like trying to elude you or something. I don't know. He had this interesting quote about how the Democrats and the Republicans are very, very similar, and I kind of find myself believing that and agreeing with
They
that.
are.
Right now. Yeah,
Crazy world we live in, man.
yeah. I mean, these people have just been hurt. They're like, I mean, we need like some sort of populist movement to kind of combat these terrible things that our government's doing to us. That's why I was really looking forward to Bernie Sanders. Like Yang was, I liked Yang too, but I thought Bernie was kind of like really feeling the heart of the issues. Like he kind of understood what was going on.
Thing I'll
He's
say,
been
Bernie
fighting since the beginning.
Bernie has been progressive his whole life.
Yeah,
He's always thought about not just him, but us.
yeah.
But I think his ideas, there's like whenever he was asked how he would execute the ideas, he never answered it.
I think that's kind of a little bit unfair because when the whole coronavirus thing hit, the first thing that he did was he dissolved his campaign's funding and made it just so he would pay for the health care of the people who are working with him.
Mm-hmm. But
which is a very
that
presidential thing to do.
What I'm talking about is I'm talking about
the specifics of his policies
during like the debate.
Yeah.
Free healthcare, how you gotta do it, and then he just goes free healthcare. Like, no, how?
He would say how Scandinavia or whatever. Yeah, I think it was a little bit weird, and he's also like a little like he's like not saying like defund the police, even though like 80% of America like agrees with that. He's a little bit weird. I think we can kind of do better than that. I mean, I kind of find myself falling into the trap of like individualism, not individualism is like saying like, oh, each single person is doing it, but like having like a figurehead, like saying like, okay, Bernie was going to fix all of our problems. Because no. Mm-hmm. And if you look throughout American history, single people haven't been fixing our problem. You look at slavery, you look at the women's suffrage movement, you look at how we got out of the Great Depression, you look at how the civil rights movement worked, you look at Stonewall. It was all these people coming together.
That's how we won World War II. That's how we won World War II. Oh, yeah, we didn't win World War II by pressuring the government. We won by coming together as a country and helping defeat this problem. And that's how I think we should be defeating coronavirus. But our country is so incredibly divided. It's not even. It's laughable that it's controversial to put on a mask. It's a political statement. No, like I'm helping you out when I wear my mask. You should help me out. There's like this thing when you get a bag of masks like I do. On the back it says this does not protect you from viruses, and people are like, "Hey, box says it doesn't protect me. I'm not gonna wear it." Yeah, it doesn't protect you. It protects me, you asshole. I wear a mask because I'm protecting you. I don't give a crap about me. I'm young. If I get it, I'm good. I'll stay in my bed for a few days. I had it. I stayed in my basement for like 5 days. Came up feeling great. But like, it's my mom. It's your parents. I'm maybe kind of think they'll be all right. But you never know. They're not young anymore. They're like over 45, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they're 50, yeah.
Yeah, they're in the age. You protect those groups of people when you wear a mask.
Yeah.
But no.
I mean, I was even talking about, I do think that we're a very divided country, but I mean, like, we know what policies we need. We need some sort of bigger social safety net. We need some better job security. We need to have less power and control, like, in the hands of our employers. And the way that we do that is not by, voting for, like, a president every 4 years. No. It's by going to protests. It's by organizing, either through labor or, like, peaceful, like, either through labor strikes or, like, mass protests. That's how we got slavery to end. That's how we got FDR to do with the New Deal. FDR didn't he didn't just like say, "Oh, I'm going to do the New Deal." No, there were protests in the streets during the Great Depression. There were rent strikes. People were saying, "We're fed up with this," and people came together and they protested and they pressured the government, and they made it so FDR had to do a compromise. He had to do a compromise between the conservative Senate and Congress, and that would also like make the people happy, and then that's how we got the Green New Deal. That's how we have to get new policies in place. That's why I really like that's why I'm really into climate change stuff. That's what a lot of the protests are about. We're planning a lot of protests within the next 10 years because we only have 10 years to get what we need done with our system. And we're not just saying, we need renewable energies and stuff. We do a lot of systemic justice, a lot of changing the systems that we have, because it's not just, we have to get green new energy. It's no, we have to stop fossil fuel subsidies. We have to stop our wars in the Middle East, where we're guarding these oil plants that we stole from the people there. And we have to stop like making it so we can make a profit from them, because oil isn't even that profitable anymore. We spend so much money on subsidies.
But to your point of getting rid of fossil fuel, I agree with getting rid of fossil fuel, and that's why I support Joe Biden's plan of making America. But to the argument, like I said earlier, I'm not just going to let you talk. I'm going to argue these points. When you get rid of fossil fuel, you're getting rid of a ton of jobs. These people are going to go out of work. What do these people do? Do you think we immediately eradicate it or slowly disband it? But then again, if you slowly disband it, do you do it in that 10-year time frame that you need to do?
So AOC has actually talked about doing some form of restore. Like, so she sees that environmental justice, like injustice for the environment that we've been destroying, isn't just like stopping fossil fuels, it's also rebuilding the ecosystems that we've destroyed. So what she's talked about is having some government jobs to kind of replace the oil jobs, because most oil jobs, your paycheck comes from the oil subsidies. So what she was thinking about is taking the oil subsidy money, and then just putting that into maybe some for fossil fuel stuff, and then some money for people who are actually going to be doing the rebuilding of these areas. And also, I mean, they're going to be a lot better jobs at the green energy things.
Yeah.
And I've also heard talk about nuclear power plants. There's some nuclear power plants that can be built. So usually when you build a nuclear power plant, it has to be really, really massive. But I have a friend who's really, really into energy use, and he told me about what was it? It's like a nuclear power plant that's made up of like interchangeable parts that can be manufactured really quickly, and then they can just be put together on the site, and you can kind of like change it over time. Because like with France built all their stuff a few 800 years ago or something, and their stuff is kind of starting to break down a little bit. With this stuff, we can kind of replace things a lot easier. So it's a good it's a good method for replacement. And then we can do some stuff with solar power. I mean, there's a lot of different. I mean, I'm not as versed in the economics of like the specifics of the economics, but I do know that we have methods of replacing the jobs that are going to be taken.
That's good, because that's a big argument that's coming for their right, because their right stems off economy and jobs and profitability and making money. And a scare for someone on the right is you take away all these plants, you're taking away all these jobs and all these people. These individual families are going to go out of work, no income coming in. That's a scary thing. But I think thinking decade by decade, not day by day, it's going to help save our planet. Because our planet's going in a downward spiral. And that's why I kind of like with Joe Biden, his plan. It's like fully. What's the word? I'm not very versed.
Right? Didn't he have it like fully? He had all the budget.
Not even paid for. Just he's gonna make America fully. I don't know the word.
Carbon neutral.
Something like that by like 2035. He has a plan and set for his term, his one term if he gets in, and for presidents to continue to follow.
Yeah, I work with the group who did that, so that's called Sunrise. They're pretty interesting org. If anybody listening to this is interested in climate change activism or activism in general, they're pretty intersectional. So they focus on like Black Lives Matter stuff, and like queer issues and whatnot. They were the ones who wrote that plan for him. I think one of the people I know, like my parents are pretty involved in the climate change activism stuff too, because they have a friend who's like a professor, and one of his students like helped write it. So I kind of have like a connection with the person who wrote it. It was a really, really well written plan, and it was pretty radical. And I liked kind of what he was saying. He was like saying, "Hey, this is a pretty radical plan, but it needs to get done." Yeah, and I mean, like what you said too, I do think that there should be a lot more focus on like workers, like working families, because those are the people who build our country. Labor is what keeps our country moving.
100%.
So we have to keep that in mind. And climate change is going to affect like working people the most too. Like poor countries, poor people are the ones who are getting affected the most. I think there's and for especially from extracting resources, like people where was it? I think there was like a place in Alabama. There was this thing that I was talking. There were these people that I was watching, and they were talking about how these coal companies would just come in and they would just destroy mountains and extract like all the coal from it. And they wouldn't do that in like a rich person's area. They would do that in a poor person's area. Because the rich people can like fight for it, but the poor people would be like, okay, we're just going to kick you out. We're going to buy all your homes. We're going to completely demolish this land, and then we're going to build a prison. And then that's how they're getting coal. Yeah. And I mean, that's being funded by the Obama administration and the Bush administration, subsidies from there.
Obama, come on.
Obama. I mean, It's all it's.
If
I don't think I'm
to
explaining it
anyone
with
that's
justice, but
to anyone that's watching me like looking down, I'm writing all this down. That's kind of like I kind of want to know this stuff.
yeah, I can send you some resources with it.
Please
I
do.
kind of didn't have it on hand. I apologize for that.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's a lot of information.
left-wing people need to care about the little guy. I think that's what conservatives have on us. They kind of like they don't really care about working people, but they can kind of virtue signal to them, and we don't really do that enough. That's why I like the newer left, because maybe their policies aren't perfect.
Hell no.
Yeah. That's why I kind of like people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Bernie Sanders. They're kind of like talking about like giving things to the average American, average working class American, giving them like workers' rights and the likes. I don't think they go far enough in some rights. What I'd hope to see to give like people real control over their workplace is some form of like workplace democracy. I think that would be really awesome.
That would be great.
So, yeah, like making it so you can like elect your manager and such, because I think a lot of the problems with climate change and in general with companies is your company doesn't really have to value you. They can kind of just like fire you or throw you to the side. And they can find information and then kind of just like hide it from you. Like ExxonMobil, they're a company that's absolutely huge. And this was in the 80s when they did this really bad thing. They did research on climate change. And they found out that it was gonna like really, really be bad for the world. They were one of the first people to do this research. And most of the people in their companies are people who are going to be affected by it. And they just hid it from them. And instead of telling people, they hid it. And then they made think tanks that just like produce propaganda to kind of like fight for them. And I think that if people had more control over, if people had more control over their workplaces, then that stuff wouldn't happen anymore. Because you'd be able to actually have a say in what people are doing, and your company would be able to screw working people over. Like the people who work in ExxonMobil are going to get screwed over by what ExxonMobil's doing.
Yeah.
And I think if people had more control over it, they'd be like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should do some. Maybe we should use our fossil fuels to kind of like help build renewable energy sources. Right? I mean, that's one thing when AOC was talking about how cheap oil was. She was talking about buying a bunch of oil so we can easily construct renewable energy plants. I mean, yeah.
AOC's a goat. I really like her.
Yeah. She's not perfect. I don't want to completely agree with her on everything, but she's pretty good.
She's pretty good. Luke, It has been a pleasure. I have like pages full of notes of stuff you just said. I want you to send me the links to those climate change websites and those organizations so I can do some more research on myself. Luke,
I actually just got the okay from my org to represent them. So
really? Represent the organization really quick.
Yeah. So I represent a group called RIYCS. You're interested in intersectional climate justice. We're kind of a new group, so if you don't really want to be with like a startup and you kind of want to be with a more official group, I would recommend working with Sunrise. But if you do want to come see us, we're just like 10 members right now. We have a very strong, we're really into having democracy within our organization. We're a youth group, so we're trying to get people who are under 22 to join. So if you want to have a voice and you're a young person and you want to fight for climate justice and racial justice and queer justice and female justice and working people justice, please give us, if you want to fight for justice, please give us a little email, or I think we have a website up.
And I'll put the link in the description to anyone that's interested in that. I know I am. Luke, it's been a pleasure. Do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
I would say look into some research some alternative news sources that aren't like mainstream media. I'd recommend Democracy Now! Or The Intercept to kind of get a little bit less biased source of news, or look into some fact-checking news sources. So some that I use are what is it called? Yeah, Media Bias Fact Check and All Sides. So All Sides, you can find news on a topic, and they will have like something from the right, something from the left, and then something from the center, so you can kind of get all people's views on it. And then Media Bias Fact Check, .com is a site where you can look into. You can just type in a news source, and then they'll have it reviewed if it's like left-wing bias, right-wing bias, or if it's just like a conspiracy theorist site, which I use a lot. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, anyone that listened.
Me.
I took last week off for multiple reasons. There wasn't enough. I didn't find enough interesting stuff going on in the world. And also, it's my birthday, and I've been doing nonstop edit videos for, I think it was like 4 weeks straight. I just want to take a little break. This was a really good episode. I have a really interesting guest coming on next episode next week. Stay tuned for that. Luke, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll see you guys in next week's episode. Peace.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.